If you live in a cold climate, you're probably very familiar with vapor barriers. Vapor barriers are often required in colder climates to help prevent condensation on the backside of our sheathing. But what if I told you that your typical polyethylene vapor barrier can actually do more harm than good? In this video, we're talking about the problems with traditional vapor barriers, and we're showing you a safer alternative that we've been using for the past couple of years for a wide range of projects and applications. This video was made in collaboration with 475 High Performance Building Supply. Let's get into it. Now, we don't have any problems with using a vapor barrier underneath something like a slab on grade, since moisture will always be trying to dry out of the ground, as this can raise interior relative humidity levels, and we can't effectively dry downwards through the slab. But with things like walls and roofs, we actually have vapor moving in both directions during different parts of the year, wherein the more humid summer months, we have inwardly driven vapor, whereas in colder months, we have outwardly driven vapor since we're heating the interior space. Moisture moves from higher concentrations to lower concentrations, and from the warm side of the assembly to the colder side. This is part of the second law of thermodynamics, and so if we have a vapor barrier in an assembly that experiences vapor drive in two different directions, we actually can get condensation on the backside of that vapor barrier, especially if the interior is air conditioned, and that's where we see a ton of mold growth and even rot in very severe cases within these building assemblies. We can't dry through a standard polyethylene vapor barrier. The most severe cases of this are typically either in assemblies with reservoir claddings like stucco or brick veneer, where we have a ton of inwardly driven moisture, or on the interior side of basement walls in front of the studs, and that's just trapping any moisture that's drying out of the concrete or the masonry foundation. We also get interior air leakage that deposits moisture through any holes or gaps in that vapor barrier, and if it condenses, it'll get trapped and it'll have a very difficult time drying out. And so we don't want a traditional polyethylene vapor barrier in these assemblies, as they can actually do more harm than good. This is where smart vapor retarder membranes come in. Now, what exactly is a smart vapor retarder membrane? A smart vapor retarder is a vapor variable membrane that acts very similarly to a traditional vapor barrier, but it actually allows moisture to dry out of building assemblies if relative humidity within the cavity begins to exceed around 60%, and exponentially increases in permeance as conditions get more humid. As you can imagine, this is extremely beneficial if you're building in a mixed climate or a cold climate with warmer and humid summers, as the smart vapor retarder membrane will open up to allow moisture to dry to the interior without risking condensation issues. Now, when this membrane is properly air sealed, it'll also serve as an excellent air barrier and will prevent condensation on the backside of the sheathing. Its function as an air barrier is actually more important than its function as a vapor retarder in terms of controlling moisture from ending up on the inside of the cavity during those colder winter months. We actually have several videos discussing the importance of air sealing and air tightness as a means of controlling vapor, which you can go and watch up here. But basically, air has the potential to transport vapor at rates that are orders of magnitude higher than diffusion. Think of diffusion as acting very evenly on the building, whereas air leaks draw concentrated amounts of moisture to those specific areas. This is Intello Plus, which is a really high quality smart vapor retarder membrane from Proclima that we specify all the time in both new construction and retrofit projects. It's been a really versatile product in terms of providing an air barrier with the benefits of a vapor variable membrane, and we use it in projects where we can't install rigid insulation outboard, but we still need some form of condensation control. After the recent off-gassing issues that we've experienced with spray foam, smart vapor retarders have been our go-to solution if we need to address condensation control and air leakage from the interior side. It also allows us to use fibrous insulation materials like mineral wool, fiberglass, cellulose, and wood fiber insulation in isolation, which really helps to simplify the assembly and keep costs reasonable. Now, the Intello Smart Vapor Retarder is part of an entire system of components. It's not just the membrane. Remember what I mentioned before, we need to make sure that the membrane is airtight because its primary function is actually an air barrier, and so the seams of the Intello membrane are sealed with a high-quality air sealing tape. In this case, we're using Tescon Vana, which is a pressure-sensitive acrylic tape that's also from Proclima and will aggressively stick to a lot of different surfaces. We actually use this tape quite a bit for various other building applications. It not only serves as an air sealing tape, but as a flashing tape as well, and it can adhere extremely well to different membranes, metal, and even porous materials like CMU if we apply a primer. And so we tape the seams and joints of this Intello membrane for a continuous air barrier. Essentially, we just staple the Intello membrane to the studs, or on the underside of the rafters or ceiling joists, and simply tape the joints. We also want to make sure that we're taping and sealing around any penetrations in that membrane, otherwise we can get air leakage at those locations. Depending on the size of the opening or the penetration, there are some system components and gaskets that we can use to air seal around those penetrations fairly easily. But the nice part is that we have a little bit of forgiveness in this assembly, since we have the ability to dry through that smart vapor retarder. Guys, if you found this video helpful, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more weekly building science videos, and make sure to go and check out 475 High Performance Building Supplies channel and website, where they also have a ton of free building science resources on how to work with these smart vapor retarder membranes and high quality building products. Links will be in the description below. For now, good luck with your projects. Cheers.